The third award this evening is the Art of Industry Partnership Award. This is a very important award for us. The Art of Industry Partnership Award honors a for-profit biotechnology, pharmaceutical, or genetics company whose track record models the benefits of creative partnerships between consumer advocates and industry to advance understanding and treatment of genetic conditions, disorders, and disease. But more than that, it models a novel partnership. A partnership that goes above and beyond, that's a win-win for all involved, and really progresses us towards what matters. And it is my great pleasure to introduce the woman who will present today's award to PTC Pharmaceuticals, or to PTC Therapeutics, Pat Furlong. I can't think of anyone better to present the award. Pat basically embodies the novel partnership. She works to further those with the cause of those with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, but she also looks bigger than that. She looks at win-wins in the community, win-wins for all of us that strive for better health for individuals, for families, and I thank her very much for that work and welcome her to the stage.
Thank you all very much. Tonight I'm here to talk about industry and partnerships, and I'm going to tell you a story. In 1994, we started PPMD, or Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy. We had annual conferences. The conferences in the beginning had one single question attached to them, and they were to all of the participants that came to the conference: if this was your son with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, what would you do first? And what would you do second? And what would you do third? In 5 years into this, in 1999, we had a conference, and a scientist by the name of Lee Sweeney took me aside, and he said, I want to talk to you about something I'm publishing about. And I said, all right. So we went outside, and he told me that he was going to publish a paper on gentamicin, overcoming premature stops. And he told me about this, and I listened. I tried to listen. I'm not the best listener, probably, but I listened. And with that, my whole career in nursing washed over me, because as old as I am, I've been in the 1972 flu epidemic. And I ran an intensive care unit at Ohio State University that had a capacity of 11 people. I had 36 people in my ICU, all with the flu, all with pneumonias. I was running 3 iron lungs because we ran out of respirators. And they had all sorts of infections in their lungs to complicate that flu. And we were running all sorts of antibiotics. We had our arsenal. But the major part of our arsenal was gentamicin. We used to call it the big guns. And not only was it difficult to give to patients who were incredibly and really near death, it was just not a good drug. And it was IV. So Lee is telling me this story about we're going to use gentamicin on the boys with Duchenne. And we're going to use it every day. Great. And they're going to be better or dead, as was my thought. So I said to him, I have a few problems with the approach, honestly. One is that this is a pretty bad drug. I consider it big guns. And second of all, we're going to have some side effects to this. I can't imagine a lifetime of an IV drug because it's going to have to be daily or at least every other day based on its half-life. And the renal toxicity, and the hearing toxicity, and what do we get at the end of the day? So I said, I have a major problem with this. Not to mention the psychological implications of being hooked up to an IV at least every other day of your life, for the rest of your life, for a child. I said, okay, but Lee, really? He said, if we start here, maybe something else could happen, that people would search for better ways to do this, but at least we'd have proof of concept. I said, okay. And then because I have an inherent way of sort of blowing it up, I guess, all over again, I said to him, okay, so that's 15% of the population, but what about the other 85%? And he just wrung his hands and said, let's just start here, Pat. Little did I know that in New Jersey, there was a company that had started just a bit earlier, looking at premature stops and how to overcome them. And as fate would have it, all of these people got together, Lee Sweeney, PTC Therapeutics, and brought forward a compound now called PTC 124 that is in a phase 2B study for Duchenne muscular dystrophy and soon cystic fibrosis, that is a small molecule to overcome premature stops. And so with rabbit's foot, with prayers, with every other good luck sign that we can all imagine, we are in a phase 2B trial for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and hopefully an application that will cross genetic diseases for a subset of the population. And now the other 85% of the population is still in my mind, right? So I did have the opportunity to meet some of the people that work in PTC Therapeutics. And I said to them, so that's pretty good, but what are you going to do for the other 85%? And they agreed that with their technology, we might be able to look at some validated targets that would apply to 85% of the population. They asked me if we could raise money to pay for a high-throughput screen, and would we be interested in drug development. Let's say that day, without board approval, I said, tell me what it is, tell me what it costs. I'll find the money if I have to steal it, which is usually sort of how I approach things. And we started what's known as Project Catalyst. And Project Catalyst is moving forward. It now has compounds on those 4 targets. We've recently added a 5th. And so we are hopeful about what we can do in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. But I think it also brings us to the point of view of a company who rolls up their sleeves, who shows up at our conferences, who gets to know not only the pathology of this disease, but the people in this disease, what they experience, what the disease looks like, what the boys look like, what the boys want, what we want, what the burden is, what we expect as an outcome. So they came in to a Duchenne muscular dystrophy that didn't have outcomes, that didn't actually, other than wishes, didn't have any concrete ability to change the course of this disease. And so tonight, I'd like you to honor with me PTC Therapeutics, because in genetic disease, we all know sometimes what an uphill battle it is to get industry involved. And this is one company that came in, opened their hearts and minds and intellectual capability to try to address genetic disease in the form of premature stops, and now Duchenne muscular dystrophy in our drug development, but now a wide number of genetic diseases that will be able to utilize their technology to move forward in terms of developing treatments. So with that, I present to you Theresa, and I'm going to screw this up because I say her last name wrong every time, Natalicchio.
Thank you. I'm Theresa Natalicchio from PTC Therapeutics, and you can't make a reservation under either of those names. On behalf of PTC Therapeutics and our CEO and founder, Dr. Stuart Peltz, I would like to thank Sharon Terry and the Genetic Alliance for this great honor. I'd also like to thank Pat Furlong of PPMD for her introduction and her nomination of PTC. It's an inspiring partnership, as I think you can well say. PTC has always prioritized its partnerships with patients and patient advocacy groups. Early in the development of PTC 124, our lead product for the treatment of Duchenne muscular dystrophy due to nonsensitive mutation, PTC reached out to the advocacy community to better understand the challenges and needs of those affected by genetic disorders. PTC was fortunate to establish strong partnerships with many advocacy groups: Parent Project, Muscular Dystrophy Association, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, the Spinal Muscular Atrophy Foundation, and Fight SMA. The input and financial support from the advocacy community in the early years was critical to PTC's efforts to collaborate with key opinion leaders and to establish important preclinical proof of concept. More recently, PTC's partnerships with advocacy groups have been essential in establishing clinical endpoints and facilitating communication with the patient community to allow us to begin our first registration-directed study in DMD. As PTC continues to grow, strong partnerships will remain a top priority for us. I sincerely thank the Genetic Alliance for distinguishing PTC Therapeutics for their strong and creative partnerships with advocates to advance the understanding and the treatment of genetic conditions. Thank you so much.